Okay, so someone actually let me know they cannot hear sound. Hopefully, I have fixed that issue. So basically, I talked to myself and those people on TikTok and Twitter for nothing. So let me do a recap. I apologize. So today is our Valentine's Day special. So we're going to talk about makeup and fashion and all things Valentine's Day, what it means to me, what it might mean to you. Okay, so TikTok and Twitter both confirmed they can hear me. Thank you, folks. It was a technical equipment issue. We're also going to revisit the Amir Locke case. We are also going to have to revisit a couple other things. We are definitely going to talk about the trucker convoy in Canada and what kind of impacts that has had here in the last couple of days, especially yesterday. We might talk about the Super Bowl. Honestly, I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl. My viewers asked me to talk about it. Um, and then we're also going to do a rating and review of a vacation destination that we went on that I want you guys to know about. And I think you should absolutely stay tuned for. Again, letting the people know on Twitch, on Facebook, YouTube, where I think they had the technical issues. So I don't think you heard this before. I can see your comments. I can see your questions. I want to address them. I'll do my best to address them. But usually I hold off to the end of our episode, the last 20 or 30 minutes or so, to do open chat, open discussion with those folks who are watching from those platforms. And again, apologizing to those folks on Twitter and TikTok. Your comments scroll by so fast, I can't always address them in a timely fashion, and I am not able to go back and see them. So if you have a question you would like me to address at the end of the show, please, by all means, come on to Twitch, come on to YouTube, follow me on those platforms, start watching there live. I can definitely see your comments come in and they stay up on my page so I can see them and address them later. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the first things we want to roll into is Valentine's Day. So let's discuss Valentine's Day since this is my Valentine's Day special. And I want to discuss different fashion tips and trends that you might want to try as part of your Valentine's Day routine. So I have never been a very big fan of Valentine's Day. My wife is not a very big fan of Valentine's Day, but we do like to enjoy each other on that day, just as kind of one of those days, you know, where we set aside and say, hey, let's just be together. And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important part is setting aside a day that you and I or that person or whoever gets to spend with each other and make it special just for them. Now, as far as the over commercialized version of Valentine's Day that we see, let's say, when we go shopping at Walmart, where the Valentine's Day candy starts coming out like the day after New Year's, that's not really what I would say Valentine's Day is very fun. Valentine's Day is more, and it is, it's a very commercialized holiday. I think a lot of people would agree that it's a very commercialized holiday. So I think that's why people get so irritated with it. Like we feel like we're obligated to take our significant other out to dinner or to be with somebody on that day. Um, the actual roots of Valentine's Day, on the other hand, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not really sure where it actually came from. I've been told it was a Roman holiday, based around fertility and finding someone to mate with. I've been told its roots in Wiccan religions and stuff like that. Where I've actually been told it was rooted in satanic ritual. I'm like, I find that hard to believe, but maybe who knows? All I know is what we see today. So I don't like the commercialization of anything that involves matchmaking or trying to get people to be with each other. I think it puts a lot of pressure on a lot of folks. Like they just have to have somebody to be with. Like if you don't have somebody and you're not dating and you can't go out on Valentine's Day, that somehow you're a failure. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, and you should not let it bother you at all. But if you do find yourself with somebody today, or maybe you've got a good date lined up, there are certain things you can do to make your date a little more fun. So, and it doesn't matter what gender you are. I don't care. If you like makeup or you want to do something to really spice up your day, do it. There's so many different techniques. So obviously today, being that we're trying to get out of this slump, this winter, this cold, this bleh that we've been dealing with since November, or for my more northern state viewers, a lot longer and probably going to be continued to be a lot longer, well into the end of March and April, when it finally starts to warm up. This is the first opportunity as the days begin to get longer to really express that festive, that spring, that new life, that happy. So when we're looking at makeup today, use lighter colors. So as you can see today, I've gone with pink. It's hard to tell because I'm on camera. There's actually 3 shades of pink and 1 shade of purple that I use today. Purple just to kind of give that accent, but mostly it's all about the hot or the vibrant or the bright colors that we're using today, just because it's not so much about Valentine's Day. It should be more about celebrating the days are getting longer. We're getting closer to spring, which means closer to summer and bathing suit weather, unless you live in Florida where it's pretty much bathing suit weather, well, all year long. So fuck you guys because it's freezing and it's cold here today. And I'm like, why? So do what you want to do. There's lots of design choices you can make. Don't be hesitant with your style today because you feel like you're going to be judged. I wouldn't worry about being judged. Other people's opinions of how you look shouldn't really matter anyway, unless you're going into a business interview. And even then, if they don't like you, do you want to work there anyway? So fuck them. Um, Thank you, Heather. I acknowledge that. Um, we got to look at it as be yourself, be who you want to be vibrant, be fruity, be bubbly, or whatever. If you want to be bland and just say, fuck Valentine's Day and everything it stands for, I'm going to go dressed in goth and look like death. Cool, do that too, because that's still fun. The objective here for Valentine's Day or any holiday that you're trying to celebrate, whether you're looking for a fashion sense or you're looking to be anti-fashion, is as long as you're having a good time, that's what should matter. Go have a good time. I think this is fun. I think this is a blast. That's why I did it. My wife loves this look. She's like, oh my God, you look so beautiful. It's so cute. I love it. Thank you for doing your makeup. It really means a lot to me. That's why I do it. I do it because I enjoy what I do. And obviously, my wife really enjoys it too. So, as far as fashion goes, my lesson for today be who you want to be, do what you want to do. Whatever look you think you can achieve, we'll do it. And don't be disheartened. I get lots of people who watch my makeup tutorials in my lives. I haven't been doing this very long. I've been doing makeup maybe 8 months out of the 10 months I've been transitioning. So it takes practice, obviously. There are lots of platforms out there to help you. I know Ulta gives makeup classes, Sephora gives makeup classes. There's lots of local shops. I'm sure that where you live, you could go that would also give you cosmetics and fashion and makeup classes. Tons of stuff out there on YouTube that's absolutely free. That's where I learned. I watched YouTube. I'd go try it. I messed it up horribly. It would look like a disaster, but it was still fun. It was still educational. So today, take an opportunity to go out there and do something different. Be creative. Have fun. And if you mess it up, you know what? Makeup washes off. It's not like a tattoo. It's not permanent. You can have tons of fun just doing whatever you want to do. So I say, do that. So that's going to end, I think, my fashion and makeup segment as far as Valentine's Day is concerned. Now, as far as where to go, I've heard so many things from so many different people about what's an appropriate Valentine's Day date and destination. Well, you know what? I don't think there's any such thing as an appropriate Valentine's Day or dating destination. I think it's, well, do whatever the heck you want, go wherever it is you want to go. But because technically a date is 2 people, it should probably be something that both people want to do. So for the guys out there and the girls out there, and obviously anyone in between who's looking at taking their other partner out with them for Valentine's Day, be conscientious of what they want to do too. It's not always about you, obviously. So if you don't know where they want to go, you should probably ask. If they're one of those folks who are like, I have no idea what I want to do, surprise me, well, that's a little bit more difficult. We run into that all of the time. So I wanted to open this up for the folks who are watching on Twitch, the folks who are watching on YouTube, Facebook, and obviously the folks here on TikTok and Twitter. Where are some good destinations that you think are fantastic for Valentine's Day? And I will look to see what you guys have to say in that regard. So who do we got on our chats here? So I see Zena. Thank you, Zena, for joining. Oh, Caffeine. Hello. I am so glad you're here. Thank you so much. Caffeine is one of my moderators on Twitch, so I'm always glad to have them here. Um, but yes, if you guys have any questions, if you guys have suggestions for Valentine's Day date locations, please let me know. Ooh, we got someone from Greece. Well, hello there. Thank you for joining us all the way from Greece. It's very, very early, or it's very, very late there. I don't remember. I think it's later there. It's like nighttime. Thank you very much, Kathy. That's very, very kind of you to say. Let's see here. Oh, I got Zena who's taking care of my stuff on TikTok. Thank you so much, Zena. You're very, very kind for doing that. I don't see any destinations or questions yet, so we will come back to that at a later time. Not too bad, though. So again, I wanted to say thank you for joining us. For those who are watching this not live, they're watching it after it's been pre-recorded. Thank you so much for joining us too. If you have suggestions or questions or comments, please leave it in whatever platform you're watching. I will always come back and do my best to address those as best. Now, if you're listening to me on my podcast, obviously you can't send any information, you can't ask questions, but that's also why I have a website. My website is cyberjynx.me. You can visit me there. There is an email address that you can send email inquiries. There's also a phone number where you can call and you can leave my staff a voicemail and they will let me know what questions you had and I will do my best to address them. If you would like me to discuss a particular topic for my next shows or win one of my shows, definitely send those to me in my email or leave me a voicemail and let me know what it is you want me to address. If it's something on a more personal basis or that requires an interview, I promise you I will call, I will reach out, I will actually talk to you in person and discuss those things with you and whether it's appropriate for it to be on a platform just like this. Now, that being said, I wanted to kind of roll into our next topic of discussion, and that's revisiting the Amir Locke case. So time has obviously passed since this has happened. And there's a couple of things that I've been observing that I'm a little upset about, and I'm not sure if you guys are upset about it or not. But that being said, the Amir Locke case, if you have been following it, if you haven't been paying attention, whatever, let's give a little bit of a recap. So Minneapolis police, again, decided that they were going to issue and serve a no-knock raid, a warrant. It does not require them to knock on the door, does not require them to announce who they are or why they're there on a particular subject. For now, I am going to probably avoid, if you will, mentioning the person's name that the warrant was actually issued for, because that is an ongoing investigation and it's a case that isn't closed quite yet. So, that being said, this person was supposed to be the one getting served. Now, the apartment / domicile / home and person that actually got served with this no-knock raid was Amir Locke. So this person had no warrants, had no arrest record, had no criminal record, and basically was just a young man trying to make it on his own. Amir Locke was asleep, or at least attempting to be asleep, during the time in which this no-knock raid occurred. The police department kicked in this person's door without announcing who they were or announcing why they were there, just kicked in the door, and 9 seconds later, Amir Locke was dead. Now, Amir Locke was a legal gun owner and obviously had his weapon with him. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with that. Amir lived alone for the most part. Amir did not live in the best neighborhood, if you will. So I could see legally purchasing a sidearm, licensing to conceal carry that sidearm. And what's really bothering me about that is if someone kicked in my door unannounced, I didn't hear police open the door, police, we have a warrant, police were kicking the door in. Well, I mean, obviously that's the definition of a no-knock raid. Nobody announced themselves until about 5 seconds into, well, the actual raid. And then 4 seconds later, Amir is dead. I know it sounds like a lot of time. 4 seconds is not a lot of time. It's not. It's not a lot of time between now and 4 seconds later. Plus, in the heat of the moment, I am sure Amir was terrified. When you don't live in the best of neighborhoods, it's not uncommon to think at night, wow, I hope my locks hold up, or wow, I hope I don't get robbed this evening, or wow, I really don't want to have to use this sidearm. These are all common thoughts, I think, amongst all gun owners, legal or otherwise. Like, I really don't want to have to use this thing, but I'd rather have it than not. Well, in this particular case, his legal ownership of a sidearm got him killed because when the police saw that he was armed, rather than de-escalating, rather than using less than lethal forms, the police just shot this man to death instead. Now, I want to emphasize how bad this actually is. The police broke into this man's home unlawfully. The warrant was not for that address, and the warrant was not for this person, assuming the warrant was actually legally obtained in the first place. Now, and they got away with it. Amir Locke, a legal gun owner, a licensed and trained gun owner, attempted to defend his home and himself from what I imagine, and we'll never know because he's dead, he saw as home invaders. Well, obviously, the Minneapolis police have not released hardly any statements at all. What statements they have released are obviously standard legal jargon, typically put out by bureaucratic bodies to protect themselves in court. As far as actual any information, what kind of punitive actions are being taken against the officers or the officer in charge who planned this no-knock raid, because obviously that person fucked up royally. No new information has come out, and I don't really think, based on what we're seeing here, that these police officers are going to face their day in court, at least not anytime soon. Now, I've been told based on different news reports that are out there that they're on, unpaid suspension or unpaid leave. Some of them say they're on paid leave. I don't know because the statements coming from these different agencies are all different. So it's really hard to know the truth outside of hearing it directly from the Minneapolis Police Department themselves. Well, they're not saying shit. Silence here for them is probably key to their own defense. Aside from that, that should catch you up as to what's going on. The family of Amir Locke, devastated. I mean, who wouldn't be? I would be. And we live in a world today where I guess sleeping while black is a crime. I don't know. I'm not black. But here's some other things that I've noticed personally that are bothering me. For all the people I know who are ultra right-wing conservative, which is basically just ultra left-wing idiots. The ones that are out there screaming, stand your ground, castle doctrine, Second Amendment. Not a goddamn one of them I've seen anywhere. Not on Fox, not on CBS, not on any of their stupid ass channels talking about Amir Locke had the right to stand his ground. I find that problematic. I do. I find that very, very problematic. You've got an organization, several organizations specifically built around the Second Amendment, which I believe is a beautiful amendment that we as humans, not as U.S. citizens, as human beings have the right to self-defense and have the right to form coalitions, militias, and armies for group defense of an ideology. That's really what the Second Amendment is all about. Not any of those people that are out there clamoring all day long that Joe Biden and his Democrats, whatever, are going to steal our guns and enslave us and whatever else, which is obviously the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It is the dumbest argument made to date. Joe Biden couldn't steal shit. Joe Biden can't remember what he had for breakfast. Now, as far as all those people who were talking about Second Amendment protections and we need to be able to defend ourselves from government tyranny. Well, this is what Amir Locke was attempting to do. He was armed. Yes, he was. He absolutely had his sidearm next to him while he was asleep, or at least trying to sleep. You know what? I do the same thing. God forbid somebody comes on my property and decides they're going to get froggy because, yeah, shit's going to get real. But that's exactly what Amir Locke was doing. He was defending himself from government tyranny. But you know what? None of these people, I have not heard a single one yet. And trust me, I've been looking. I have been looking to see if someone on the ultra conservative right can rectify their existence and saying, this man was gunned down inappropriately while trying to defend himself from the very government tyranny that they love to freaking espouse all the time. And no, I have not heard a single one yet. Not a single one. Nobody has gone to this man's defense. As a matter of fact, I've seen no less than 5 articles and 2 TV bits where these ultra-conservative Second Amendment people said, Mr. Amir Locke got what was coming to him. Had he just obeyed the police's commands, he'd still be alive. He had no business having that gun next to him while he was asleep, wherever the fuck he was. And hold the fuck up. You're the same people who 2 weeks ago were talking about, hey, you should have the right to have a gun anywhere you want, have it in your car, open carry that shit in the street. Yeah, in case these stupid ass government wants to come down and tell you what to do, you should just shoot them. Well, that's what he did. And he didn't even know that it was the government who was the one kicking in his door. He just thought he was being robbed. I guarantee, even though we'll never be able to ask Mr. Amir Locke what he was thinking, he was probably terrified. Someone broke into his apartment and was about to either kill him or rob him or both, and reached for something that he was going to use to defend himself. And now you're telling me these same people who scream for Second Amendment protections, like, oh no, Mr. Amir Locke, he got what was coming to him. Like, really? Really? Where the fuck's the NRA? Why haven't they stepped in to pay for his family's defense and legal counsel? They're so pro Second Amendment and the ability to stand your ground, and they were big supporters of castle doctrine. Where are they? Why haven't they chipped in every dime necessary to sue the Minneapolis Police Department into the ground? This should be their launching platform for Second Amendment and gun protections. You gunned down a black man in his own home with a warrant that wasn't issued for his fucking residence or his person. I mean, seriously. And I have not seen any people from the NRA even speak up on the issue. I think I saw one tweet. This is awful. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Of course it's awful. An innocent man was shot to death by freaking power-hungry police officers in a city rife with corruption, particularly in its police department. So yeah, I think the next time I hear someone talk about castle doctrine and stand your ground and Second Amendment rights, I'm basically be like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. Because you obviously don't believe the words you're actually using. I guess unless it's a white person. Because that's what this is starting to sound like. It only matters if they're white. If anybody of color, or God forbid, a queer person fucking had a gun and defended themselves, I don't know, in Florida, no, you'd be calling to have these people strung up. Or brushing whatever happens to them under a rug. I mean, what the fuck? I think a simple statement by anybody from the NRA, anybody from the Second Amendment movements, all of them, Huan Labe, all these movements that are out there, full of people that I know, I converse with, some of whom I would trust with my life in a foxhole, absolutely. But not a fucking one of them has made a statement that Amir Locke did not deserve what happened to him. Amir Locke should be defended in court. Their family should be defended in court. And these police officers, this thin fucking blue line needs to spend the rest of their waking days in a prison cell. And I'm not going to stop talking about this until every officer involved, including the officer in charge that planned that no-knock raid, spends the rest of their lives in a prison cell and paying restitution to the Locke family. Even if it's $1, every fucking one of them should have to pay $1 every week forever until they die to the Locke family as a reminder of what a piece of shit they are. And if they don't feel bad enough already, I am going to make sure they feel worse. Y'all fucked up. And not a goddamn one of you have even come out publicly to own it. No, we're going to sweep this shit under the rug because it's just another black kid. People ask me like, well, Brandy, why? Why are you so concerned about these things? You're white. You're right. I am. I don't live in the same kind of fear that people of color do. I don't. I don't live in fear. At least not like that. I still live in fear. But here's the thing. My 2 youngest boys are black. What happens when this shit happens to them? Are they going to get more justice because one of their parents or both of their parents happens to be white? Maybe. I don't know. I would prefer that nothing fucking happened to them. But the world we live in today, which should be getting better, almost feels like it's getting worse. I do see people making comments on here. Not all cops are bad. And you know what? You're absolutely right. Not all police officers are bad. I think that's a valid statement. But I also hear those same exact people who make statements like that talk about, well, it's a black people problem. All black people are just bad. That's why the crime in their communities is so high. No. Are there bad black people? Sure. But not all of them are bad. There's bad apples in every freaking group, every known ideology, every single small sect of community. There's always going to be bad people. There are people in my own community, the LGBTQIA plus community, that I think are absolutely awful, evil, disgusting people. It's bad enough that I walk down the street or go to Walmart to go buy simple shit and I get stared at and I get abused by straight cis people. But I expect that kind of behavior. I expect that behavior because that to me is normal life. It is normal for me to walk outside and have people throw shit at me or my house. I've already had 2 people attempt to steal my pride flag off of my porch. It ain't even been up 2 weeks. And I've already had 2 people try to come steal it. My house has been rocked. It has been egged. And you know what? I can call the fucking police department here and they ain't going to do shit about it because they don't like me just as much as the rest of the people around here don't. To me, that's normal life. I live that every day. And you know what? Fuck it, whatever. But when I get hate and shade from within my own community, I get gay men who sit there and tell me, you're just a man who's confused. You're gay with extra steps. I didn't get this from a straight cis person. I got this from a queer man. I'm gay with extra steps. So, yes, there are bad people in every fucking sect of the world. Just like there's good people. So I know that there are good cops out there. I know there's good cops. I know most of them personally. In this county, I know state police officers. Hell, I dated one. He was super cute. I dated him like month 1 into my transition. I know there's good police officers out there. And the nice part about this wonderful, fine, upstanding, uniform wearing citizen of the United States is he was not ashamed to be seen with me in public. That's good people. That's very good people. But at the end of the day, I understand also that the actions and the behaviors of the bad police officers, the bad people in our society, will ultimately always overshadow the actions of the good. I get lots of people on my lives, lots of people everywhere that compliment me on how beautiful I am, how sweet and endearing I am, how smart and intelligent I am. And yes, all of that feels amazing. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Some of it's patronizing, but for the most part, it's very, very wonderful. However, those actions, even though they far outnumber the negative things that I deal with, the negative things I deal with have a longer lasting impact. They leave an impression on me and those around me far more heavily than the actions of the good. The negative actions in people of color's lives not only affect them emotionally, it affects them financially, it affects them physically. Any people, any people. Oh, my dog is spazzing out. Any people out there who are marginalized all understand quite handily how physically damaging these things can be. So I don't care that there are good cops out there, or that your family is full of good cops, or that your grandfather was a good cop. Because the good cops that are out there aren't stopping the bad ones. I don't see any police officers out there holding their own officers at gunpoint for the bullshit they do. I've never seen that happen. So how good can you actually be? The good officers that I know, the ones that were so sick and tired of the systemic, awful bullshit that runs rampant within police departments across this country, the good ones I know hung up their fucking badge and said, no more. I will not be a part of an organization that specifically targets anyone who's different, while letting the people who commit some of the most awful fucking crimes against humanity go. There are so many people who've committed awful, awful atrocities who've got minimum sentencing. And for what? Meanwhile, you've got huge populations of people of color who are in jail for having a fucking plant. I mean, come on. Really? I mean, that being said, I think stuff's going to have to change majorly. And I definitely want to be a part of the solution that comes with trying to make meaningful change. I'm not saying that we necessarily have to disband policing. I think policing is great. The good police officers who stayed and still wear their uniform, who are out there trying to make a difference, they're part of the solution too. But the issue, again, as we expressed in previous episodes, is proactive policing. Too many police officers have this sense of entitlement that because they wear that uniform, that somehow they sit above or are better than the average citizen. And I'm afraid to put this out there, but essentially you've got that in reverse. Because you serve your citizens, you don't sit above them, you sit below them. Otherwise, servant wouldn't be in your title. You are a public servant. You have as much authority and as much meaning in this world as a fucking senator, an alderman, your town's mayor, which means none. You have none. Your job is to go out there and investigate crime and make arrests when a crime has been identified. And only when a crime has been identified. That's reactive policing. Proactive policing is I'm going to put this uniform and I'm going to go cornhole me a drunk. Not only are you an asshole, but you're a subhuman piece of shit too. Mind your fucking business. That uniform does not and will never give you permission to abuse the citizenry in which you serve. And if you can't police in a reactive manner, in an appropriate manner, then I would kindly ask you to take off that uniform because you disgrace it. As somebody who served this community and this country for 20 years in a uniform, you disgrace everything about wearing a uniform. Prove me wrong. I've asked lots of people to do it, and they've yet to be able to prove me wrong. I spent my 20 years doing what I was supposed to do, and I did it in a very, very centrist libertarian fashion. I have never gone out there and manhandled people. I've never committed atrocities. I didn't murder hundreds of thousands of people. I've never deprived anyone of their rights. And I've never stolen people for profit. But I know 10 police officers personally who have abused their own citizenry, stolen their shit for fucking profit, and basically acted as nothing more than a uniformed road pirate, extorting wealth out of anybody they can for the betterment of their own government. So don't call yourself a police officer if you act like a pirate. Exactly, Ting Ting. So we had a comment from somebody on TikTok who said that their experience with the cops has always been great until they see their black husband and or children. My experience has been the same. The different officers between the different counties here in Central Texas who have pulled me over before I transitioned usually treated me quite nicely. I absolutely had white privilege, and that is I was not automatically assumed to be dangerous when police officers walked up to my freaking car. Despite the fact I'm probably far more dangerous because I'm nuts. Now, when they pulled me over here more recently and before my driver's license was updated, oh yes, let the hate ensue. Especially when I have my 2 black sons in the back seat. So the tune changes quite quickly. And I realized just how much privilege I actually had when the tune of these police officers changed. And this wasn't a one-off. This wasn't a one-time deal. I have a lead foot. I get pulled over a lot. A lot. I can't count how many speeding tickets I had last year on 2 hands because I like to drive fast. Driving fast is fun. It's a thrill, whatever the case might be. Now, for someone who's had probably 19 speeding tickets in a single year, and I still have my driver's license, that's white privilege. Because I know 2 black people who got 2 speeding tickets and had their license suspended the second time. That's called driving while black. I pay my fines, I go to court, I do my driver's ed, whatever the case might be. Now, here's when things changed. The first time I got pulled over after transitioning, obviously did not look, well, I guess as pleasant to the eye as I do now. Definitely didn't sound as pleasant, although I don't like my voice. I think it sounds terrible. Very different. Very different. Well, yeah. A couple officers were terrified. They were like, ugh. It just didn't even bother. So yay for me. And a couple of them, I mean, I literally watched their entire face change. And it went from pleasant to what the fuck. And all I saw was hate. Absolute hate. I got yanked out of my car. I got thrown on the fucking ground. My car got searched without my consent. I had 2.5 hours of my time wasted. And I never got a reason why. I asked, why am I being detained? What is the purpose of the stop? I had to go to court to find out I was actually stopped for doing 35 in a 30. I had to go to court to find that out. I didn't even get a citation issued to me. Now, of course, all that got dropped because I brought an attorney when I showed up to court. But again, I got lucky. So when we look at cases like Amir Locke, and I get someone who comes and says, well, not all cops are that way. You're right. They're not. They're not. But I didn't see any good cops out there protesting with the rest of the Locke family. So you want to prove you're one of the good ones? You're one of the good cops? Go out there and make a statement that you too, as a police officer, male, female, or whatever you identify as, are sick and tired of the bad ones gunning down people, gunning down sovereign citizens. For what? Show me a good cop who's out there in their uniform making the statement, we will not stand for the bad ones anymore. And that if I see a bad cop doing something like gunning somebody down innocently, I will take that person down and make sure that they can never do it again. Police the police. Good police officers should be policing each other. I was expected to do it as a soldier. My job was to make sure that my other soldiers around me, both equal and lower rank to me, were doing their jobs. And they were doing them well, within regulations, within guidelines, and within standard or exceeding said standard. That is the job of every service member, and therefore should be the job of every police officer. You police each other, as well as protect and defend each other, to make sure that this little asshole over here doesn't walk into a house and kill an entire family, because they're having a bad day. Like whatever. Now, not to beat that subject any further, we're going to move on to our next subject, which, again, another heated topic, is this truck rally up in Canada that is now basically threatening to come down into the United States, or probably already has. So I look at it like this. Everyone has the right to protest. Everybody has the right to protest. I think that these truckers have a valid reason in their own minds to go out there and protest for whatever the case might be. But as I stated before, when somebody had asked me, hey, what do you think? What do you think about, the protests that are currently going on? What do you think about this truck rally? And I said, good for them, but it's not going to accomplish anything, and it's going to cause more damage than good. Well, here we are. It's happened. And guess what? It has accomplished nothing, but it has caused irreversible economic damage. You've got these clowns out there. Sure, it was peaceful. As far as I know, I have not seen any or read any reports on any news outlet of physical damage, rioting, or violence. Great. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I am so happy that a protest could occur where people aren't out there hurting themselves or others. Or did they? So you've got not just the truckers in this rally, but people in other trucks, dualies, all kinds of freaking things, cars, who are joining these truckers in their rally, honking their horns, causing all kinds of mayhem on that nation's highways, as well as several U.S. highways, blocking trade between the United States and Canada. Literally stopped trillions of dollars worth of shit from passing the border. Well, how much damage did that cause? How much higher are the prices going to get on things in Canada and the United States? Because although their economies are very different and they come from two different parts of the world, those economies are linked, unfortunately. We live in a global economy. There are lots of people out there who hate the fact that we live in a global economy. Well, guess what? Tough shit. It's here. It's here, and we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it until something better comes along, or in perpetuity, because it's going to stay. Those two economies are linked. It's just the standard way of doing things. So now you've got a crippled day, possibly now extending to multiple days, both in Canada and the United States. People who are not in business for themselves may not realize what one day's worth of revenue loss can actually do. As somebody who's run 2 different companies, now 3, realizes when you miss a day, your employees don't show up. They can't show up. They're stuck. Or the resources you need to build, manufacture, or create your end products don't arrive. The amount of money that you lose is staggering. It is staggering the damage that can do. Now, I never operated with massive margins and giant freaking revenue streams in my company, but my payroll in 1 year was $850,000. That was my payroll. That's a lot of payroll. To me, my payroll was $850,000. My net spend, so my bills, all my accounts payable, was about the same, almost double between 2 different years. So my outgoing was significant. And all of that relied very, very heavily on what kind of equipment, what kind of material, all the stuff necessary for my folks to be able to do their job had to arrive. All of that depended very heavily on that stuff arriving on time within a specific amount of slide. I allowed things to slide 1 or 2 days, sometimes up to a week, depending on when it was. So scheduling things, scheduling changes, to maintain our agile performance, as most good business owners and leaders should do. Now imagine other companies out there who are now going to suffer again. We've already been suffering major issues with deliveries and truck drivers not showing up because there's nothing for them to deliver. Some of it's still freaking stuck off the Pacific coast of California. And it's been there for months, almost a year, sitting, unloaded, whatever. You've got produce in some of these trucks, or produce sitting on shelves that is not arriving at the stores necessary to sell them in Canada, rotting. So you'll have farmers who are trying to sell their produce that are now going to get more government subsidies because their produce rotted it off the shelf. Again, more taxpayer spending to make sure these farmers don't lose their ass and stop farming. You've got manufacturers, they're not getting goods. You've got store owners who have nothing to sell because it's just sitting in distribution warehouses with no one to deliver it. So sure, there's no looting, there's no rioting, there's no businesses being damaged. And as far as I know, nobody as a direct result of one of these truck drivers or protesters in their vehicle has died. Not as a direct result, but definitely as an indirect one. And we're going to get into that next. So the economic damage is still being tallied by both countries as to what this is actually going to do. There are businesses that will close their doors forever. Because rest assured, if my equipment stops showing up and I've got my employees sitting, trying to do their job, do you think my employees are going to be happy about not being paid? How many employees do you think I had would be super impressed with the idea of, oh, sorry, just because the truck driver didn't deliver our freaking network gear and all of our appliances that we need to go install for this customer, yeah, I'm not going to pay you this week. Well, no, I would get reported. I would get reported to the government immediately. My employer didn't pay me, but I worked. So what do most employers do? Well, they lay off their employees. They fire them. Now you've got people who are losing their jobs because rest assured that business owner is not going to shut their doors and probably not shut their business down just to continue to pay employees with money they don't have. I know society expects them to do it, and I think it'd be good for them to do it. It's not going to happen. They would rather lay off all their employees and just wait. COVID proved it. There were tons of companies that were like, you know what? Fuck you then. Laid off all their staff, went to automation instead. And we could be mad all day long that they did it. It is not going to change their mind. It's not. So when people talk about, oh, there's lots of corporations out there that tripled their profits and all-time high CEO pay and all this stuff, you're right. You're absolutely right, because they found a way around you. So anyone out there who thinks that this truck rally is going to do anything but help the biggest, most powerful and rich people in the world, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. This entire bullshit protest was orchestrated by the most powerful, politically connected, and wealthiest people in the world. And they didn't use those wealthy people at the head end to march forward with this protest. No, they found the most ignorant plebes possible to eat up their message and then run out there and regurgitate it. So once again, it's accomplished nothing. Nothing. But it's damaged everything. This entire dick waving contest, which is basically what it boiled down to, is one glorified 2,000-mile long dick waving contest, has caused more economic damage in a single day than a year's worth of the Black Lives Matter protests did. And here's the worst part. There's untold damage that they're not even acknowledging that's just now starting to come out a day later. So the arrogance and the absolute absurdity of the behavior of some of these people who were in this protest. Some of these people who were in this protest has caused the death of 3 people that's been confirmed. 3 people were confirmed to have died as an indirect result of the behavior of these people. So you have ambulances filled with EMS people who are trying to drive these people to the hospital, who can't get through the protest lines. You've got people who are jumping into the carpool lanes or the emergency lanes specifically to block ambulances from getting through. Sure, you have a right to protest. Abso-fucking-lutely. I think all human beings have the right to protest. I think it's important for whatever reason you want. But I think you take it a step too far when your arrogance and your disgusting subhuman behavior has to show so brightly that it literally kills people around you. There's no way for anyone to prove that there was a direct correlation to the person in that ambulance dying before getting to the hospital to those protests. But it's an awful, awful indirect coincidence that EMS drivers and EMS techs are reporting back to their base station that there are people in this truck rally, both trucks and cars, who are honking their horns, giving the ambulance the middle finger, and cutting them off, almost to the point where they're slamming on their brakes to stop the ambulance from getting to wherever it was going. Because the people in this rally thought, well, that's just the government trying to make us go away. I could see that. I could see that if it was a police squad car, not a fucking ambulance. So yes, there is a death toll. Small, sure, very small. But there's a death toll. Even if it's indirect, it's still a death toll. So sure, no looting, no burning. No devastation as far as physical buildings. But yes, so far, 3 dead. Indirectly, billions, if not maybe trillions of dollars in economic damage between 2 countries, possibly more, depending on the impact as it begins to spread like an oil slick on water and touch other countries. So who knows how much more damage it will do when it begins to impact the European Union, Japan. Hell, the only ones that are not going to be super affected by this is probably China, because they don't care. Let's say Heather's one of my moderators on TikTok. Heather, thank you so much for doing the moderation. Please be cautious with who you block. Reprimands are fine, but don't necessarily just kick them out, okay? Because both Michelle as a Fox and Goat are longtime followers of mine, and they do give counter opposing opinions, and those are always welcome. I'm not here, and I don't want my moderators to be here to silence other people's counter. Now, if they go up there and call me a tranny or something disgustingly gross like that, fine, block them. That's not an opinion. That's just someone being a dick. But as far as this show is concerned, I want people to know, I do, that I respect anyone who has a reason to protest. What I don't respect is the means by which you do it to just wreck everyone else's life around you. Okay, yes, well, I don't know if she was muted for the entire one, but please unmute and unblock people that you went in and did that to, unless it was something awful. If they said something terrible, like they mentioned unaliving somebody or whatever, just being brutal for the sake of being brutal, then yes, leave them muted, leave them blocked. But if it's just a difference in opinion, it's fine. I don't know what else to say about these protests other than congratulations. Congratulations on just an epic waste of resources and everybody's time. Congratulations. That's what you've accomplished here. Embarrassment, absolute embarrassment. So I like to end all of my sessions and my shows on a higher note. So that's what I'm going to try and do today. So the last part, again, we discussed things like travel. So we're going to discuss that today. So I had a chance to visit, and we're going to review and rate the Kalahari Resort in Round Rock, Texas. That's right, folks. Right in good old North Austin, Round Rock, there is a brand new resort, has not been there or been open very long, called the Kalahari Resort. This is a chain resort that apparently has locations around the United States, not very many, but my guess is they're probably going to have more as time goes on. So the resort's theme is based on the family who owns the resort's trip to the African continent and the various different countries in Central and South Africa. Excuse me. So lots of beautiful sculptures, lots of beautiful paintings, the artwork in the resort, very, very nice, very, very tasteful. The theme is, well, obviously an African vacation. And I would say on a scale from 1, which means terrible, awful, I would never go again, to 10, only rating the theme and how they portray that theme, I would actually give it a 6. You do absolutely get an African feel. The artwork is very authentic. I like how they set up the lobby when you enter. All of that does feel very, very nice. but it also feels exceptionally fake. So that's why I give it a 6. It's a little oogly, and it's like they kind of overdid it. So yes, it's got a nice look, but it also seems a little bit like they kind of went out of their way to make it look odd. Um, Now, as far as initial service, so parking, when you enter the resort, um, getting ready for your stay, again, from 1 being absolutely terrible, I will never do it again, to 10, I'll actually give it a 9. So 9 out of 10. Their parking is wonderful. It is evenly distributed around the resort. You are never more than a 2-minute walk from the main door or from a door to get back into the resort. And they have valet. Now, I will say this of the valet greeters are nice, they're courteous, they're wonderful. It's $40 a day for them to valet your car. And it could take them up to 3 hours from the time you call them to get your car back to you. So, rating that on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 4. Yes, they have valet. I think $40 a day is a little bit overpriced for them to go park your car in the same spot you could have, because it's not like special parking or covered parking. They're going to go find a spot on the parking lot and they're going to stick your car in there and then they're going to guard your keys for you. And that's $40 a day. So yeah, you're going to get like a 4 on that one. I don't care how nice you are. $40 a day for you to basically throw my car out in the hot ass sun or the cold. No. Or go fetch it for me. Not really worth the $40. So I would say the parking lots are wonderful and they're not that far away. Just park your own damn car and get a trolley for your luggage. Or, I mean, they allow you to pull up and drop everything off, including your whole family, and then go park your car. You're absolutely allowed to do that too. So I would recommend that. Don't use the valet if you don't have to, unless, let's say you've got tons of kids and you don't want to bother with it and everyone wants to get to the hotel at the same time and you don't want to wait in the lobby with 5, 6, 10 kids. I get it. I get it. So in that case, maybe $40 a day for valet parking sounds reasonable. I don't know. But once you get in there, the check-in process, and I'm going to chalk this up to the resort. This location is still new. So the Kalahari Resort check-in process is a little fumbling and kind of stupid. It takes way too long. Obviously, if you've made reservations weeks, sometimes months in advance, you would expect that your service would be ready for you when you get there. No, there's been an hour and a half waiting time for us just to get in there and get checked in. And then another 45 minutes before our fucking room was ready. And it's like, hold on. So as far as that, again, I'm going to give them their due diligence just because this resort is new. They're not fully established yet. Maybe that was the problem. So given that, I'm going to be a little kinder and say that the check-in process and the whole process for reserving your rooms and purchasing all the extra amenities, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Just because, again, I'm being nice. Because of all the bullshit we went through, I'd like to give them a 3. But again, I'm going to give them credit and just say, okay, you're new, you're not all the way in, some of your systems aren't working right, fine, whatever the case might be. We're going to go ahead and say, you're good, 7. Now, there's vast improvements that they absolutely need to make. 1, don't leave 3 people for the check-in process on a Saturday or a Friday. Because obviously everyone's fucking getting there on a Saturday or a Friday. So like 3 people out of 19 spots, that's pretty shitty performance, Kalahari. If you're going to be a top 5-star resort, or at least that's what they want to be, y'all are going to have to step up your game. Because I was not impressed at all. I was not impressed. That was shitty. Now, the rooms. We'll go into the rooms. So cleanliness, 10. I would hope so, though, because it's brand fucking new. The number of rooms and the size of the rooms, 8. There's plenty of room at this resort, and the sizes of the rooms are actually very, very reasonable for both short and long-term stays. Um, the amenities in the rooms, 2. Absolutely 2. I was so disappointed. So disappointed with the amenities in those rooms. The couch, awful and uncomfortable. Because we rented a 2-bedroom suite. Suite. As in, we wanted the suite, the larger space, so that we could possibly get food and things. Because we knew this is not an all-inclusive resort. There's nothing all-inclusive about it. You have to purchase every other thing on top of the stay for being there. So we wanted to get a suite. We expected in the suite, based on the description and their website, they would have a kitchenette. That means a hot plate or a stovetop, an actual refrigerator, a place to store food, possibly a mini bar. I like to drink. Daphne likes to drink. And it had 2 bedrooms. Well, the beds were uncomfortable. Certainly big enough. There's 1 king and then 2 queens. So I thought that was great. Kids got their own space. They got to sleep in their own beds. They were super happy and excited. But the mattresses were very uncomfortable. It was like sleeping on a rock. The pillows, again, like those weird inflatable pillows. Like when you squeeze them, they feel tight and they just collapse into a flat pancake. You're like, for a room that we paid for basically 3 or 4 days, almost $1,900. I expect better. It had a mini fridge that you could buy at Walmart for $40. It had a sink, and that was it. The microwave didn't work. The coffee maker did not work. Trust me, we had them come replace it with ones that did. And that's all you got. There was no amenities there was no kitchenette. There was no kitchen, period. It did have a table you could eat at if you ordered room service. Again, an extra fee. So that is my reasoning for the 2. Sure, rooms are big, but the amenities in those rooms are terrible. The only thing I would give the resort is they must expect, obviously, because it's a resort with so many fun things to do, you're not going to spend very much time in your room. Well, it is also a hotel and resort geared towards people with children. If you've got children, well, sometimes those children, especially young ones, require naps. So chances are you're going to be spending more time in that room than you thought you would. If you've got children under 4 or 5 years old, chances are those little cross goblins need a fucking nap. You can't just let them run around all damn day. They don't operate that way. You thought they were cranky before. Try going all day long without a nap and then see how well they go to bed. Or eat, for that matter. So yeah, for a resort that's supposed to be geared towards families with young children, not really. So again, for amenities for actual family gatherings and stuff, we're going to have to go in there a little more detailed. Now, the water park, the biggest feature of all Kalahari resorts, is this massive water park that's indoors, which means you can go swimming and have fun and do all the beachy things year round. I will give this, as far as the overall aesthetics of the water park at Kalahari in Round Rock, Texas, 9.5 out of 10. It is a very cool, very well set up, amazing looking water park. Lots of fun things to do for all ages. I don't care if it's a baby all the way up to the oldest old man in the world. There's something fun and exciting and leisurely and wet for you to do. So yes, 9.5 out of 10. The only reason I took off half of a star is really of the overall aesthetic. When you walk in there, the chlorine is so freaking strong. It does actually burn the eyes a little bit. You can smell it immediately when you walk in there. And that's the reason I'm going to shave off a half a star, is out of the overall aesthetic, you're going to be bothered at least a little bit by the chlorine feel and smell. So buyer beware. If you have a problem or if chlorine agitates asthma or you have breathing conditions, this place is not for you. There is no ventilation whatsoever inside that water park because it's meant to be heated. Particularly, I think they have one in, I believe they've got a location in Minnesota. I want to say they got a location in Pennsylvania, where it could be very, very cold outside. They ain't going to vent shit. So beware and be safe. Now, as far as the setup, I'll give the setup a 7 out of 10 because it is very confusing. It is hard to find your way. Nothing is marked properly, especially for families with very small kids. I'd say put your kids on a leash because it's extremely easy for your kids to dart off and you're not going to find them. So be careful. Be careful if you have young ones. Make sure they're not going to just dart off. I have a very adventurous young man who's 3 years old, and he will bolt in a heartbeat. So nerve-wracking at best. Now, you have the option to sit in general seating. There's tons of general seating. Kalahari, I will give you a 10 out of 10 for the general seating, the free seating. This is anywhere in that water park that you want to sit that you don't have to pay. But again, your spot's not saved, your spot's not reserved. Someone could come take it. And they do fill up fast. But I will say this, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So I give them a 10 out of 10. Now, for your paid seating, these are your cabanas. You can get private cabanas where your family has a place to go. You get a safe to lock up all your belongings. You get your own furniture. You get your own privacy. You can close it off if you want, in case you want to get changed in your private area. You get a TV, I guess. So I saw a lot of families with small babies and children who were doing their nap time in these private spaces. And I think that's great. However, it is loud. That whole water park, because it's indoors, the building is metal, it's very echoey, it's very loud. How they got their little ones to stay asleep, I have no idea. Except I think eventually you just learn to drown out the noise. But I do think it's kind of shitty that you have to pay a rather large amount of money to have one of those so that your kids can take a nap somewhere other than the hotel room. But it is what it is. So we paid $1,000 for 2.5 days of leasing that private space. It was $1,000. I'm going to say for what it costs and for what you get, because nothing's included. No food, no drinks, no nothing. It's just like, here's a spot where you can get ready and go back to and just chillax for $1,000 for 2.5 days. I'm going to give them a 4 out of 10. I wasn't impressed. They're shoddily constructed. Again, the furniture is extremely gross and very uncomfortable. Cute. It's cute. I do enjoy the safe. I do enjoy the bat phone that comes in there where you can call and order food and drinks and they'll bring it directly to you. But again, it's for an extra fee. I would say that the prices for food and drinks inside the water park is just like getting a hot dog and a beer at a Yankees baseball game. It's about $25 plus a 20% mandatory gratuity added on, and they only accept credit cards. You have to pay before they'll bring the stuff to you. I get it. I get it. So, yeah, you get a 4 because that's just extortion. The gaming center, the adventure center, also geared towards children. So it's like going to a Chuck E. Cheese where you get all the video games that spit out tickets. It's basically that on steroids. Now they do have rides. There's a roller coaster. There's the drop ride. There's the action adventure center, the mirror rooms, the escape rooms. All of them absolutely fun. For the adventure impact that they give for all the extras beyond those stupid ticket spitting video games, I would give them an 8.5 out of 10. Those are creative. Those are fun. But they're also extra. They're extra. You don't get that when you buy the passes to the water park. You got to pay for extra passes just to use the adventure center. And then the video games are on top of that. They're individual. You have to go buy credits just like you would at Chuck E. Cheese or other places. So to me, overall, I would give the Kalahari, based on our ratings, probably somewhere around a 5 out of 10. That's the best I could give that resort. It was fun. It was very creative. I regret taking my children. It was a fucking nightmare because my kids are extra shitheads sometimes, as most kids tend to be. There's very little recourse you can do to corral your children unless you put them on a leash. And what parent wants to put their kids on a leash? Nobody wants to do that. It's just silly looking. So, lots of places for them to get lost, lots of trouble for them to get into, or damage or injury that can occur. So, the lifeguard staffs were good, but not really that good. And the general attendance that the people at that resort give is, well, shitty. So, yes, combining all the good with all of the bad, I'd say 5 out of 10 overall for the Kalahari Resorts. They have a long way to go to make that place a 5-star feel. And honestly, as a parent, I will be willing to say this. If they really want that 5-star feel, one, they got to make it an adults only. Get rid of the kids entirely, because you're never going to get 5 stars on any kid, anything, period. But yeah, it felt more to me like a timeshare, like how every single, you got nickel and dimed everywhere. A pass for an adult to use the adventure center or play video games was like $55. It's $35 for kids just to have an extra badge put on there and one more band that you have to wear to go do something. The food at the restaurants was exceedingly overpriced. There nowhere you're going to eat anywhere with 2 children and 2 adults that's going to be less than $150. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Their breakfast buffet is $30 a person, $25 if you're military. Yeah, so with 5 people, breakfast was $125. Like, holy shit. Plus tip. Everything has a 20 to 30% gratuity automatically added on. And no, they don't tell you. If you're not looking at your receipt, that's where you find out, like, hey, you just tipped on top of a mandatory tip. Sure, if the server is really good, but like, why am I getting a 30% gratuity on a buffet where I don't have a server? Like, nobody served me shit. I had to go get my own drinks. So, yeah, I would look at that as, yeah, I think 5 is generous. Giving 5 out of 10 for the Kalahari Resort is very, very generous. That whole timeshare kind of you've been duped feel is very prevalent the whole time you're there. You're like, eh. And yeah, although the kids, I think, did have a very good time. I think they had a blast. They were also shitheads the whole damn time. So it's hard to control your kids, let them have fun, and then feel like you're having fun too. But I did have a chance with Daphne to kind of rate the whole experience. We did very good about taking notes about what we saw, what we didn't see. So, again, 5 out of 10. I don't think I would go back. I really don't. Maybe if it was just Daphne and I without the kids, I might try it again, see if my rating changes with children not present. But yeah, exciting, absolutely exciting. There was obviously fun moments. There are things I gave it much higher ratings for, but still, it just didn't feel like it was that great. So that's it, folks. That's my overall rating of the Kalahari Resort in Round Rock, Texas. I mean, if you really want to go give it a try, please give it a try. So I don't think I would recommend it with a rating of 5. Not for as much money as it costs. Now, if you've got nowhere else to go and you've got money to burn, do it. Try it at least once. Maybe your experience will be better. I don't know. So we are at the last bit of my show. We are approaching the hour-and-a-half mark. That's usually where I cut my show off. So we open this last bit for questions and an answer. So this is the Q&A. You can ask me anything about stuff I've talked about. If you've already asked, I can see it. I'm going to bring it up. So let me read through here. We've got several people on here who've asked a couple of things. It's nice. A swear counter. I love it. Yes, Caffeine, write me a swear counter. I will absolutely love to see that pop up on my life. Like every time I swear, it's like a little counter goes off. I swear, this is an adult-oriented show. Why I mark my stuff as 18 plus. So let's see here. Caffeine, you're absolutely correct. I am not actually on the Twitch chat. I'm actually inside of a very large platform that shows me the chats from all of the different platforms I'm streaming on. So I can see Twitch, I can see Twitter, I can see Facebook all at the same time, YouTube as well. And I answer them just like that. So let's see. So Caffeine asked me, so why didn't I become a police officer? And I'm assuming that's probably my discussion around police and Amir Locke. I think that's a valid question. I think that's a very valid question, Caffeine. I didn't become a police officer because I've already done my civic duty. I think 20 fucking years is long enough. This is my time. I am over 40 years old. One, I'm not who the police departments are looking for, rest assured. And I'm at an age now where I'm pretty sure I would have a very difficult time passing the physical fitness exams necessary for most police departments or state police agencies. So that's why I don't. Otherwise, I would. I absolutely would. I don't have a problem serving the public. I liked being a public servant. I did. I found great joy out of putting smiles on people's faces and keeping them safe. I absolutely did. But you know what? 20 years is too freaking long. Caffeine also made the statement we should charge the drivers for damages due to a lack of speedy delivery. Absolutely. I think you should. If you are a business owner who's been absolutely impacted by the bullshit going on between the United States and Canada with these rallies, definitely sue the company for damages. Sue the company for damages for what they did. Thank you, Caffeine. He's been defending my Twitch chat quite nicely. Let's see here. See, offline. Yes, it is, Caffeine. It actually is. My Twitch streams, my YouTube streams, I always mark are not made for children, that they are adult oriented. Although I'm not obviously getting naked or showing skin or whatever other kind of content you might think that involves, I do swear. I have no vocal filter whatsoever. If I have a problem with something, I'm going to be extremely vocal about it, and I'm going to say something about it. So, and sometimes it's not something that you probably commonly hear on Sunday after church, and definitely not something you hear during church. So, yeah, this is 18 plus, not for nudity, not for anything like that. But I drink. I absolutely drink on my shows, especially if I do a special where I'm on a one-off like a Saturday or Sunday. If it's after freaking noon, guess what? This girl's drinking something, and it's not soda. So, yes, this is an 18 plus environment. I do my best to try and remember to remind people that we are 18 plus. So, yeah. Now on TikTok and Twitter, I think Twitter is also marked as adult content, or they call it inappropriate content. I'm like, why is it inappropriate? Well, okay, inappropriate for a minor, right? So yes, 18 plus. It should be. It should absolutely. But if it's not, I'll go in and verify it again. I know my YouTube is definitely set that way. My Facebook doesn't necessarily allow you to mark things as adult oriented, which is shitty because then you get massive intent violations where, oh, you violated our community standards. Well, I didn't want to. I don't want little kids coming in here and joining my conversation. It's none of their business. They have not around long enough to form a valid opinion about a lot of things that I discuss, and I don't want to offend their parents. So we're not going to do that. Oh, thank you, CJ. I like being me too. I do my best to like curb some of my swearing if I can. I do catch myself as best as possible to try and stop some of my swearing, but it just happens. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry it happens, but I'm also not sorry. I like being a little bombastic. It's fun. So, any other questions? We got a couple of minutes left in the live broadcast. I'm absolutely happy to go out there and answer any questions you might have. But I'm also really freaking hungry and I want to eat lunch. So make it snappy, folks. Oh, Delina got sad because she missed my show. Well, for those who are on here who want to know my show, I go live on my podcast, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, Twitch, and TikTok. Normally, not always TikTok. TikTok's a weird platform. They're kind of a pain in my ass. But all those other platforms, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Central. That's when the broadcast begins. And even though you missed my show, you can go to YouTube or my website, cyberjynx.me, and you can catch all of my shows pre-recorded, saved forever in the annals of Jynx for you to view at your leisure on demand. So you've always got that. If you're not following me on those other platforms, definitely follow me. And if you're following me on the main platform, in this case, it's YouTube or Twitch, definitely hit that like button. Definitely hit the follow button. And because likes and follow don't always let you know when a show's come out, when a new episode or a tidbit comes out, hit that subscribe button too. Subscriptions will actually make sure you get notified on whatever platform you're watching me on every time I'm about to begin a show. Or if I'm planning a special, you'll get notified too. And if you get a chance, check out my website too. I got a lot of good content shows up on the website, lots of blogs, lots of news reports I'm going to be putting out there as well. You can definitely find every single one of my episodes, including my historical episodes going back. Maybe not to episode 1 or 2. Episode 1 and 2, I think, got deleted because it was mostly just me crying. Lots and lots of crying and being really upset with myself for like, wow, you're stupid. You've known this your entire life and you waited until you were fucking 40 to finally be your real self. So I was like, nobody's going to want to watch that. I just typed a synopsis and that's kind of it. So, but you can find all the other episodes. You can actually go back and see what I looked like very early in my transition and how scary I looked. I was like, that's gross. But I want to be transparent. I want people to know where I came from and how I started. So yes, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll be here doing live, talking about the topics of the week or the topics of the day, rating fashion, talking about cybersecurity, going over gaming, all of it. But that's pretty much it, folks. We are now at an hour and a half, and my time is up. If you are a business owner and you're watching me and you would like to be one of my sponsors, visit my website, CyberJynx, Jinx with a Y, not with an I, .me, cyberjynx.me. Send me an email. Give me a phone call. Let me know who you are, what you want me to sponsor. And if it's something I can get behind, absolutely, I will start posting your content or advertising you during my shows. That's it for me, folks. I'm out. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Y'all take it easy. And, well, be kind. Go out there and be kind to people.